What's up, Tech Gang? Stefan here from TechRight. Today we're going to be comparing the Galaxy A13 5G versus the Galaxy A53 5G. Stay tuned. Alright everyone, hopefully you guys are having a good day. Hopefully everyone is safe out there. We got the A13 5G on the left side and the Galaxy A53 5G on the right side. First and foremost, starting off with the prices, the A13 5G is about $249 when you buy it unlocked. Obviously there's going to be deals on both of these devices depending on which carrier you go to, but fully unlocked, this device is going to be $249 and the A53 5G is going to be about $449. So the A53 5G is about $200 more. Getting into the displays, comparing these displays, obviously guys, you see it's noticeable the A53 5G has a much better display. Both devices are going to be 6.5 inches. The A13 5G is going to have a 720p display and the A53 5G is going to have a 1080p display. So it's going to be full HD on the A53 and just HD on the A13 5G. Now the A13 5G is going to have a 270 ppi compared to a 405 ppi on the A53 5G, and the A13 5G is going to have an LCD display compared to a Super AMOLED display on the A53. We're also going to have 90 Hz on the A13 5G compared to the 120 Hz that we get for the refresh rate on the A53 5G. We also have a better screen to body ratio on the A53 5G. As you guys can see, we have that 6.5 inch display with that little hole punch compared to the water droplet notch we have on the A13 5G. And comparing the screen to body ratios, the A13 5G is going to be at about 81% and we're going to be at about 85% on the A53 5G. So very nice compact phone. I really enjoy the compactness of this phone. I think it's a very underrated feature that a lot of people don't talk about. Going down to the features on the A13 5G, we have an ambient light sensor in the screen. We also have a proximity sensor. And on the A53 5G, we have a scratch resistant glass, which is Corning Gorilla Glass 5. Great protection right there for the screen. We also have an ambient light sensor and a proximity sensor as well. The A13 5G is going without the Gorilla Glass 5 though. Now, as far as the hardware in these devices, the A13 5G is going to have a MediaTek Dimensity 700 compared to the Exynos 1280 on the A53 5G, and I think, both devices perform well in their, own price range, but definitely the A53 5G is going to perform much better. As far as the RAM inside these devices, we have 6 for the base model on the A53 and 4 on the A13. As far as the base storage on these devices, we have 128 in the A53 5G and we have 64 gigabytes of internal storage on the A13 5G. Now both these devices are able to expand memory via micro SD cards, so that is definitely a luxury that we don't see in a lot of devices, so definitely a cool thing for both of these devices. As for the A13 5G, we have Android 11. I believe there's going to be an update pretty soon to Android 12, but the great thing about the A53 5G, and this is probably one of the reasons why I like this phone a lot, is that we actually have 4 years of OS updates for the A53 5G, so we're going to have all the way up to Android 16 or whatever it's called during that time. 4 years up to 2026, this phone is still going to be relevant as far as security patches and operating system updates, so really awesome stuff that Samsung put inside of the new A53. As for the A13, it's pretty much up to fate. Now getting into the battery capacity, both these devices surprisingly have a huge battery at 5,000 milliamps, so they're both going to be 5,000 milliamps. They're not going to be user replaceable, so if you're looking for that, these are not the phones to go to. As far as the charging, both these devices have fast charging. The max charge speed on the A13 5G, however, is only 15 watts, and the max charge speed is about 10 more watts on the Galaxy A53 5G at 25 watts. So we have a really nice 25 watt fast charging experience on the Galaxy A53 5G, and this charges up super quick. So I'm loving that feature so far. Both these devices do not come with wall chargers, so that's something that kind of sucks, to be honest. But if you guys go on Amazon, you can get a pretty decent 25 watt fast charger for pretty cheap. Now it's pretty cool, both these devices are the same color, so this comparison's pretty nice, but as you guys can see, the design language is a lot different. On the left side, it's more of a minimalist approach. I mean, both are pretty minimalist, but the A13 5G is extremely minimalist right here. So going over the A13 5G, starting with that, obviously this is going to be a triple camera setup. The A53 5G, however, is a quad camera setup, and we get some other good stuff on that device we'll talk about in a second. But with the main camera, we get a 50 megapixel PDAF camera. Our aperture size is going to be f1.8, and our focal length is 26 millimeters. As far as our secondary camera, we do have a macro camera on here. The aperture size is going to be f2.4, and our third camera is going to be our depth information, and that is going to be a 2 megapixel reader as well. As far as our video recording on our rear camera, it goes up to 1080p at 30 frames per second, and it caps out at that, so no 60. As far as the front facing camera on this device, we have a 5 megapixel front facing shooter, and that is going to be capable of full HD 30 frames per second as well. Going over to the Galaxy A53 5G, we have a much better camera setup as far as quality and everything else as well, to be honest. First and foremost, our main camera is going to be 64 megapixels, and we also have OIS in the Galaxy A53. We do not have that on the A13 5G, so that is our optical image stabilization, and the stabilization has definitely improved from the A52 and A51, and I can see this very clearly in the videos that we take on this device. But we also use that camera as our PDAF camera. The aperture size is going to be f1.8, and our focal length is going to be 26 millimeters. Our sensor size is going to be 1 and 1.7, and our pixel size is 0.8. As far as our secondary camera, we have a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. Our aperture size is going to be f2.2, and our third camera is going to be a 5 megapixel macro, aperture size f2.4. And our fourth camera is going to be our depth information camera, which is our 5 megapixel camera. And we're going to have an aperture size of f2.4 as well. So as you guys know, we do have an ultra wide camera on the A53 5G. As I said right now, we do not have that, however, on the A13 5G. So much more stuff packed into the Galaxy A53 5G. And as far as the front facing camera, compared to the A13 5G, we have a 32 megapixel camera instead of a 5 megapixel camera. So definitely winning in the camera department for the A53 5G, and I'm really not surprised. The A53 5G would just murder the A13 5G's camera. It's just way better. Now, both devices are going to be made out of plastic. However, the A53 5G is going to feel much more premium. This is a much more compact device as well, but this is just going to feel really good. Even though they're both made out of plastic, just this one feels a lot more premium, and it also has this really cool thing around the entire phone, this band. It's like the silver thing. It's still plastic, but it feels and it looks much sexier. As far as our fingerprint sensor, the Galaxy A13 5G has a fingerprint sensor on the power button. And as for our A53 5G, we just have a more modern in-screen fingerprint sensor that's actually very quick, very responsive, and I am loving it so far. So great call on the A53 5G with that. That's been around for a second, but as you guys know, some people like this as well. I really do enjoy this. So it's all up to preference when it comes to fingerprint sensors. Now, this is one thing that I think the A13 5G beats the A53 5G in, and that is the compatibility of a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So we have a headphone jack on the A13 5G, but none on the A53 5G, sadly. Both these devices also have NFC, and we also have Type-C reversible charging. So cool stuff right here. All right, everyone, so finally getting into the Geekbench scores. As you guys see, we have a single core score of 460 on the A13 5G compared to the A53 with a score of 741. As far as our multi-core score on the A13, we have a score of 1103 compared to a multi-core score of 1909. So pretty big difference in both these devices. As far as our single core score on the A13 5G, we're going to see what we can compare it to. So it's a Xiaomi Pocophone F1. So that's pretty much where it lands on the list right there. And we have a score of 1103, which doesn't even reach the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7. So pretty decent results from the A13 5G. I still think it's a pretty decent phone, but the A53 5G is definitely just killing it in this test right here. So for our device on the A53 5G, we got a score of 741. Which lands in between the Poco X3 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, which is actually really impressive, to be quite honest. And our multi-core score of 1909 can land in between the Xiaomi Pocophone F1 and the Xiaomi Redmi K20 Pro. So those are the scores that we got on both devices. Obviously, the A53 5G is much more powerful. So yeah guys, that was the comparison of the A13 5G versus the A53 5G. If you guys don't want to spend too much money, I think the A13 5G is still a really good option. You know, we have some good stuff on here. 64 gigabytes of internal storage. We got that headphone jack. We can expand the storage as well on this device. We have NFC, and we also have 90 hertz refresh rate on the A13 5G. So if you guys want something a little bit cheaper and you don't really care about the niceties that the A53 5G has, I would definitely go with the A13 5G, and that should hold you over if you're used to devices like this. I think it's still a really solid device for the price range. Going over to A53 5G, this device is just honestly really good. As far as updates go, we're going to have 4 years of updates on this device. We already have the latest software on this device, Android 12 4.1, in-screen fingerprint sensor, 120 hertz, 25 watt fast charging inside this device, an AMOLED display, Super AMOLED, very beautiful display on this device, and we have a really nice body on this device as well. So I really think that the A53 5G obviously is the better device, but depending on which one you want, if you want more, I would go with the A53 5G if you want more of those luxuries. If you just want a decent phone that just gets you by, I would just go with the A13 5G. But that was my comparison of both these devices. It's up to you to choose. Hopefully you did enjoy this video though. If you did, please leave a like down below as well as subscribing if you're not part of the Tech Gang already. Also hit the notification bell if you guys want to be notified every time I do upload a new video. This has been Safon from TechRight. Peace out, Tech Gang.